こんにちは、あつです。今回はスペシャルゲストに来ていただいておりまして、アナンヤさんです。よろしくお願いします。
お願いします。
はい。ということで、アナンヤさんはもう日本語がめちゃくちゃペラペラだと思うんですけれども、まず、一応自己紹介ですね、からしていただいてもいいですか？
はい。皆さん、こんにちは。アナンヤです。サンフランシスコに住んでる、日本語を7年間勉強しているインド出身のアメリカ人です。で、日本語のコンテンツとか、言語勉強だったりとか、ビジネスだったりとか、いろんなことを発信してます。
はい。ということで、日本語7年。
7年間ですね。一応なんか、on and off って感じ。
なるほど。7年勉強して、で、ちょこちょこやったりとかやんなかったりしてて。
そうですね。
So today I'm gonna try to figure out how you really mastered Japanese. 彼女のその日本語はもう私がさっきからちょっとこの動画撮影前からね、聞いた時もうそう思ってたんですけど、なんかもう完璧に日本人っていう感じで。で、日本に、So have you ever like come to Japan?
I've been to Japan before, so I did a homestay back in 2017 for about 2 weeks.
Just 2 weeks?
2 weeks, yes.
So this is your second time
yes.
coming here?
Yes.
Wow.
So this is my 3rd week.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you started learning Japanese 7 years ago, right?
Well, I started learning Japanese when I was 13.
When you were 13.
So I guess it was technically 10 years ago?
10 years ago,
yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you were studying like for the whole
No, definitely not. Honestly,
that,
I think I was only studying for like 5 years.
5 years.
I've been using Japanese for maybe 10.
Yeah. Got it. So, like, what was the starting point? Like, why did you want to study Japanese first?
Yeah, I wanted to study Japanese because I really fell in love with like manga and anime. That's kind of how it started. And then as I kept going, I was just like, oh, let me just try learning Japanese. I really fell in love with it. And I was like, I want to meet Japanese people. I want to go to Japan. And that kind of snowballed. And I started to feel like I wanted to use it in business or something like that.
Right.
So, I just love Japan and that's how I kept going.
Okay, and how did you learn English? So what did you start with?
English?
No, Japanese. Japanese.
Okay. How did I learn Japanese?
Yeah.
I started off with different resources.
Nice.
So, such as like blogs, like tofugu.com was like a really good blog that I was using. And they had a bunch of resources. So I just studied everything. Like I downloaded all the apps I could find on the App Store.
So all online?
All online. I couldn't pay a single cent. I didn't have money back then, so.
And there was no Japanese people around you?
No, and also it's like a 13-year-old kid to just like go out and meet random people.
Yeah, a little tough.
Yeah, right. So totally online.
Okay, and then when did you start feeling like, oh, maybe I can communicate in Japanese?
I think I didn't talk to anyone in Japanese in person for the first 3 or 4 years.
すごいですね。
So I was just alone in my room, just like studying nonstop, but doing like maybe calls with people from online websites where you can like exchange.
With Japanese people?
Yeah. So that's what I did mainly. And eventually I actually went outside, I talked to people, and then I started realizing, I think I was really focused on getting good pronunciation because I felt like Japanese people, especially with foreigners, there's like a bit of a distance, and I wanted to bridge that as best as possible, and I felt like pronunciation, intonation was the best way to do that. And so once I started speaking and getting more comfortable, that's when I was like, okay, I think I'm glad I studied a good amount. Yeah.
その発音に関して言うと、そのイントネーションとかも今めちゃくちゃ完璧だと思うんですけど、どうやってイントネーションはマスターしたんですか？
イントネーションはなんかすごくちゃんと意識してやるっていうよりかは、なんかイントネーションとか発音とか、気軽に調べて、なんか例えばその口の動きとか舌の居場所とかそういうのを意識して、なんかこういう感じでやるんだみたいな、ちょっとずつシャドーイングもすることになって、なんで私この主人公が言ってること言えないんだろうなって思って、
同じようになんで言えないんだろう
ってなって、何回も繰り返してできるようになって、でちょっとずつなんかそれを練習する、だから例えば自分がこうなんか日本人に会うってなった時に、特にアメリカにいるのでそんなになんか頻繁に会ってないので、なんか家の中でなんかあえいおうとかそういうのを言い続ける、ラリルレロみたいな感じで練習してできるようになるみたいな。Yeah, and so it doesn't come like easy in that sense. Like you kind of have to like it's because it's so different from English, so I feel like I have to do that.
なるほど。
Yeah.
じゃあ最初は so you at least learned all the like fundamentals, like where your tongue position should be and what your lip shape should be and stuff like that. So you learned all the basics first, like theoretically, and then did you put that into practice, or did you just try to imitate like how Japanese people pronounce?
I think I would break it down into like 3 stages. I think the first stage is like the basic writing forms. Like you have to know how to read, right? So hiragana, katakana, maybe some basic kanji. And I think the most basic one is like ta, like the rice fields one. Like that's the most common one.
そっから始めたんですね。
Yeah, and then そっからはどっちかというとちょっとずつなんか発音の方に移るみたいな。で発音ができてからはなんだろう。最初はすごいインプットが多いわけなんですよね。誰とも喋らないインプットして。
確かに。
Then you switch to output. And I think the third stage is really just like talking, non-stop talking, non-stop listening. And なんか自分はすごい今なんて言うんだろう全体的にその自分の日本語勉強を簡単に説明するとしたら、赤ちゃんが言語を勉強するように勉強すると。
なるほど。
っていうことですよね。Like immersion method. I'm sure a lot of people talk about that.
A lot of people are talking about that. Yeah. Do you think that is a kind of method that people can, like anyone can use, or do you think that is kind of limited to young learners? Because you started learning Japanese when you were 13, and it might be a different story for people who are learning English or Japanese or any language at a certain age or above, right?
Yeah.
So
I think it comes with its difficulties because the immersion method I feel like takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to be in it for the long run. But I think that it's a method that can be added into any like learning method. Like so for older people, I think it's a good like almost like a tsuika, like adding it on because it's so hard for people to speak a language like comfortably, like really just like sura sura sura, like it just comes out like so easily. That's not that easy unless you do immersion, where like you're writing out your like memo or like task for the day in Japanese or like English, or I don't know, listening to music in that language, and you being so like deliberate about all those things is what's going to make that little difference, you know, like where you go from like 99 to 100 or something like that.
So basically you're saying it's just an element, it's just like one of the ways of learning the language, and it becomes like part of the whole like set of language learning process.
Yes.
It's not really like you've got to do just immersion and nothing else. It's not like that. You've got to like combine them together and then turn it into, you know, what's really suitable for your learning style. And
exactly. That's really well put. Like everyone has different styles, right? So this is kind of like that umbrella that's like right over it.
なるほどね。ちなみにそのイントネーションはめちゃくちゃその例えばなんかマットさんとかよくピッチアクセントとか日本語とか言って例えば花でも花をみたいなその「お」がつくと花になるみたいななんかそういうような話がありますけど、であれはなんかこの理論を理解すればできるみたいな感じだったと思うんですけど、そのアナンヤさんはこれはこのケースだからこれだっていうのが分かってるのか、それとももうなんかイントゥイティブにもう分かるようになってるのかどっちなんですか？
勘でやってますね。
勘でやってるんだ。
で間違ってしまう時もいっぱいあるんですけど、なんか例えば日本人になんかこの言葉のイントネーション何って聞いても多分分からない時もきっとあると思ってて、自分も例えば英語の発音を聞かれたら全然分かんないし、なんかそういうなんかイントゥイションみたいな話し方の方がもっと自然につながる。直感的な、なんか話し方になりたいなって思ったので、それがすごいおすすめなんですけど、全然、他の人にとってはなんか逆にピッチアクセントみたいなちゃんとシステムがあるのも、なんか合うのもあるかもしれないですね。
なるほど。じゃあどちらかというと理論を学んで実践するよりも実践フォーカスで実践してその中でこうちょっとずつこう良くなっていくようなタイプ、
改善していくみたいな感じですね。
なるほどね、すごいな。じゃあ今後の展望とか何かありますか？
展望ってどういう意味ですか？
展望はなんかwhat are you planning to do in the future? Like what are your future goals and
yeah.
what do you want to achieve?
I think for me, like being kind of like someone who speaks Japanese and English, I've always been interested in like businesses in general, just like growing up in Silicon Valley. And so I really want to do a business one day and maybe like bridge a certain gap of Japan and the US. That's something I was really passionate about in university. And so, yeah, I just want to like, I'm in Japan right now and just, yeah, be a bridge, try different things out. But yeah, like building a business is like my ideal.
なるほどね。Do you have like any specific business plan in your head right now?
Just like a lot of ideas. I think now that I've been in Japan, like every day I'm just like writing down so many things because, you know, there's a lot of things that Japan has that US doesn't have and like vice versa. And it really makes you think because I grew up in the Bay Area my whole life and haven't really stepped out of that bubble. And so this has been a huge learning experience.
なるほど。
Yeah.
そのビジネスアイディアっていうのはもう全部今内緒ですかそれは？
いや、逆にない。
ないの？
逆にあるけど、なんかちゃんとしたアイディアっていうのがなくて、そうですね、なんか、これやりたいな、あれやりたいな、みたいなのはあるけど、なんか、なんだろう、ちゃんと自信持って言えるのは、全然ない。
まあ、そうなんですね。
っていうのはない。
じゃあ、それはもうちょっと具体化してからね、っていうことですね。はい。ということで、今回はもう日本語がペラペラで、もう本当に日本人と会話してるとしか感じないような素晴らしい言語力をお持ちのアナヤさんに来ていただきました。アナヤさんも YouTube とか
やってますね。はい。
Twitter が一番？
Twitter とかインスタとか。インスタが多分今一番アクティブなんですけど、まあいろんなコンテンツを出してるので。はい。
じゃあぜひチェックしてみてください。じゃあ今日はどうもありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
次の動画でお会いしましょう。バイバイ。
バイバイ。